The colony on planet Veridon 6 had been built for survival, not comfort. The world was harsh, dense forests, sudden electrical storms, and wildlife that often made experienced explorers nervous. The human outpost sat on a rocky plateau surrounded by miles of thick emerald jungle. For the soldiers stationed there, life was routine. Patrol the perimeter, check the sensors, stay alert, and above all else, avoid the Veshra packs. The Veshra were the dominant predators of Veridon 6, sleek, powerful creatures with 4 muscular legs, silver fur, and long tails tipped with sharp bone spurs. Adults could leap nearly 15 meters in a single bound and hunt in perfectly coordinated packs. Even the colony's armored patrol vehicles gave them space. But like many things in the galaxy, their cubs were a very different story. Sergeant Tara Cole had been stationed on Veridon 6 for almost a year. She leaned against the outpost railing early one morning, brushing her long dark hair while watching the jungle mist slowly lift from the valley below. The patrol squad behind her was preparing for the day's mission. Private Daniels checked his rifle. "Sergeant, you ever notice how quiet this place is in the morning?" Tara smirked. "That's because everything dangerous hunts at night." Engineer Mika Wren stepped out of the supply room. "Actually, statistically speaking, Veshra packs hunt both." She stopped mid-sentence. 3 small shapes had appeared at the edge of the clearing. Mika pointed. "Ah, Sergeant," and sighed. "Oh, great." 3 Veshra cubs stood just beyond the outpost fence, each one barely larger than a large dog, but clearly the same species as the terrifying predators that ruled the jungle. Silver fur, bright amber eyes, curious expressions. Daniels whispered, "Are those what I think they are?" "Yes," Tara said calmly. "They are." The cubs stared at the humans. Then one of them chirped and bounded forward. The cubs had first appeared a few weeks earlier. At first the soldiers had panicked. Then they realized something strange. The cubs weren't aggressive. They were curious. Very curious. They sniffed boots. They chased falling leaves. Once one of them had spent 15 minutes trying to climb a supply crate. Now they were back again. Daniels groaned. "Oh no, the jungle puppies." "They are not puppies," Tara replied. "They absolutely are." One cub trotted up to the fence and pawed at it. Another flopped onto its back in the grass. The third cub sniffed the air curiously. Then it noticed something shiny in Tara's hand. Her hairbrush. The cub's ears perked up. It hopped forward eagerly. Tara didn't notice at first. She continued brushing her hair. Then the cub squeezed through the small maintenance gap under the fence. "Hey!" Daniel said. The cub ran straight toward Tara. Before anyone could react, it grabbed the hairbrush out of her hand and sprinted away. For a moment, no one moved. Then Daniels burst out laughing. "The predator cub stole your hairbrush!" Tara stared. Did that just happen? The cub stopped about 10 meters away. It proudly held the brush between its teeth. Then it began chewing on it. Hard, but something strange happened next. As the cub chewed the brush, strands of Tara's dark hair tangled around the bristles. The cub shook its head. Hair stuck to its fur. The other cubs ran over curiously. They sniffed the brush. Then they sniffed Tara. Then something clicked. The cub holding the brush suddenly stood tall. It puffed out its chest and made a loud chirping call. The other 2 cubs immediately copied it. They formed a small triangle around Tara. Daniels blinked. What are they doing? Mika checked her scanner. I think they're marking her scent. Tara slowly lowered her hand. Excuse me? The cub proudly dropped the brush at her feet. Then it sat beside her like a guard. The other cubs followed. Within seconds, Taracol was surrounded by 3 small alien predators sitting proudly at attention. Daniels whispered, "Sergeant, I think you've been adopted." Deep in the jungle, something heard the cubs call. Something big, something that responded instantly. Minutes later, the ground began to tremble. Commander Elijah Grant rushed onto the platform. "What's going on?" Daniels pointed toward the jungle. All of the cubs made a noise. Grant looked down. 3 Veshra cubs sat proudly around Tara, each one alert, each one watching the jungle. Then the trees parted, and the entire Veshra pack emerged. 8 adult Veshra stepped into the clearing. Massive, fast, deadly, their glowing eyes locked onto the human outpost. Daniels whispered, "This is bad." The cubs chirped happily. They ran toward the adults. Then they began rubbing against Tara's legs again. Spreading her scent further, the adult Veshra sniffed the air. Their ears twitched, and slowly, their posture changed. They stopped stalking. Instead, they formed a loose circle around Tara and the cubs. Grant stared in disbelief. What just happened? Mika checked her scanner again. The cubs marked her scent. And now the entire pack thinks she's part of their group. Daniels grinned. "Well, that's convenient." Unfortunately, the jungle had other plans. A deafening roar exploded from the valley. The Veshra instantly turned. Every muscle in their bodies tensed. A massive armored creature burst through the trees. A Gorath behemoth, the largest predator on Veridon 6, it charged straight toward the outpost. Normally the Veshra pack would have avoided it. But this time, the cubs were here, and the human they had adopted. The pack reacted instantly. They moved as one. The adult Veshra formed a defensive line. The cubs darted behind Tara. Grant shouted, "Everyone get to cover!" But before the soldiers could even raise their rifles, the Veshra attacked. The battle was over almost before it began. The Veshra pack moved like living lightning. 2 adults leapt onto the behemoth's back. Another slashed at its legs. A 4th darted under its jaw. The cubs chirped excitedly from behind Tara. The behemoth roared, but it was too slow, too clumsy. Within seconds, the Veshra had driven it back into the jungle. The massive creature retreated, wounded and confused. The clearing fell silent. Daniels slowly lowered his rifle. "Well," he said, "that was impressive." The Veshra pack returned to the clearing. The cubs immediately ran back to Tara. One of them picked up her hairbrush again and proudly dropped it in her hand. Tara stared at it. "Thank you." Commander Grant shook his head. "Sergeant Cole?" "Yes, sir. You may be the first human in history to accidentally recruit an alien predator pack." Daniels laughed. "All because of a hairbrush." Tara sighed. "Well, I guess personal grooming saves lives." The cubs chirped happily. The adult Veshra watched quietly, and as the sun set over the jungle of Veridon 6, one thing had become very clear. Sometimes the most powerful alliance in the galaxy didn't start with diplomacy, or technology, or strategy. Sometimes it started with a hairbrush.